Hello, MGM Newscast. I'm Galaxy. Today's story that we will be covering is how the weather will be warming up this past week, the latest on Chris and Rihanna, and how rising gas prices will be affecting someone traveling. We just got some breaking news a few seconds ago. Apparently there's chaos today in the streets of Hollywood. Apparently there was a zombie invasion. Now, these aren't like most stereotypical zombies. They do not eat birds, although some did, but most walked uncoordinately, slowly and stumbling. What people are saying that is affecting the zombie invasion is a misfold of prions. The misfold of prions is apparently happening in the Golgi body, and it is mostly affecting the nerve cells in the human body. Now, we are going to have some specialists, protein specialists and epidemiologists on today to help explain it further to us. So here's Rachel, the protein specialist.
Hello, this is Marie Foster and I'm here from the International Protein Research Center. I was asked here today to explain to the audience the process in which these prions affect the body in the uprising zombie disease. First off, I will explain to you what a prion is. The prion is basically just a misfolded protein located in the Golgi apparatus within the cell. These proteins, when not misfolded, are called PRP proteins that allow communication concerning the cell organelle. To further express how regular PRP proteins are developed, one must first understand how DNA ties into the process. DNA is basically just the body's blueprints. Everything, down to the smallest portion of our cells, is created through DNA instruction. The DNA is transformed into proteins by messenger RNA that enters the cell nucleus where the DNA is located. The messenger RNA attaches to the DNA strands that have been split by the RNA polymerase. The messenger RNA creates a translation of the DNA and leaves the nucleus traveling to the ribosomes. In the ribosomes, the messenger RNA is converted to tRNA, which then creates proteins. The proteins are transported to the Golgi apparatus within the cell, which fold in long chains of proteins to the proper shape. However, prions are misshapen proteins. Even though this seems like such a small mutation, it has an extreme impact on the function of a cell. Concerning the theory that the prions are created due to the genetic mutation where the ribosomes create the prions, the sodium-potassium pumps will receive the wrong instruction from the proteins. This will cause them to basically malfunction, which disrupts the equilibrium of the cell. This will also lead to the imbalance of ions within and without the cell. This is life-threatening to the cell and to the host because the ions are responsible for the messages transported to the nerve cells. Active transport will potentially shut down passive transport, and that will eventually malfunction and not allow water to enter and exit the cell. Due to this, the cell will eventually burst and die. The current and most accepted theory is that the Golgi bodies are responsible for the misfoldings of the proteins. This theory is easy to understand when it affects just one person, but what myself and my fellow colleagues are baffled by is how it's affecting so many people in such a small amount of time. With further collaboration with other scientists, we should hopefully have a respectable estimate as to what is causing the widespread outbreak before time runs out.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ludlow, an epidemiologist from Harvard University, and I specialize in the study of infectious diseases. So these infectious diseases are particularly what's going to be causing these prions to even be made in the body. So now I'm going to tell you how these prions are affecting the Golgi body. So when a Golgi body is unfamiliar with specific protein, the Golgi body will become unresponsive or just misfold a protein, which will then cause the prion. This prion is particularly what's affecting the body's ability to function properly and maintain order. Thus, it has been determined that an infectious disease has entered the body and is spreading rapidly to create these zombies. So there are many ways that infectious diseases can affect our cells. So since the human body is surrounded and inhabited by billions of microorganisms, which are living organisms that are so small they can only be seen by a microscope, there is always a chance that someone can be affected. So one of these pathogens are going to connect to the body, get inside of it, and secrete its toxins, which will eventually infect us. So there are 4 pathogens that are being considered as a likely theory to how these prions are being made. bacteria, fungi, protists, and virus. Now, virus is going to be the most likely theory because it's the only one that's specifically going to alter the DNA. If we take a look at bacteria, fungi, and protists, they absorb material directly from the cell membrane but don't actually enter the cell until it dies, which would be an unplanned cell death, also known as apoptosis. So let's take a look at these viruses and how they're actually going to be causing these prions to be made. Okay, so let's take a look at what a virus actually is. So a virus will much look like this, with a capsid, and inside the capsid it's going to include its own nucleic acid and DNA, and it'll hook onto the cell by using its tails. So the genetic material that's located in a virus is called DNA, and in others it is RNA. So when the viral genetic material, also known as your viral DNA, enters the cell, it is replicated, transcribed, which is where your mRNA is going to be produced, and it's translated into a protein, which is then produced from the mRNA by the host cell itself. So by this process, the host cell will use the genetic material or instructions from the virus to thus create more viruses. So you can see how this is going to be continuing on. So now let's just take a look about how if a virus is going to be inserting its RNA into the cell. So the viral RNA serves as mRNA after the infection. So the RNA of some viruses serves as a template to synthesize more RNA, and is used to produce proteins, and some of the replicated RNA is packaged into new viral particles. So retroviruses are when the RNA right here of the virus uses the RNA as their own genetic material, as you can see here where it says the viral DNA is going to be using cDNA, which is simply complementary DNA, to thus become the mRNA that will be used to make the protein before it can even be transcribed or translated. So the host cell is going to synthesize its DNA, which is a copy of the mRNA, which is actually your viral DNA, to actually be transcribed or translated. We're looking towards a cure to how to fix all of this. The most likely one would be a vaccination, where we would just take a part of the virus, insert it inside of the body in small doses. That way the body can get used to it, the immune system can strengthen, and we can get rid of it. Or we can just look towards an antiviral, which will theoretically kill any virus.